So welcome everyone. If you're just joining, again, there's a couple more folks joining. Feel free to drop your name in chat. So my name is Debbie and I'm with Kentucky Youth Advocates. And I'd like to thank the Kosare for Kids Basic Movement for hosting this Lunch and Learn today. Just a couple housekeeping rules if you want to, if you can please stay on mute. If you have any questions, please drop them in chat as we go along. And there will be an evaluation survey at the end. And if you are looking for a social work CEU or certificate of completion, that will be at the end of the survey. So we do value your feedback, and also it'll ask like what topics you're interested in for future Lunch and Learns. So today we're going to hear from Morgan Williamson and Amber Waddleton from UofL Peace Hospital. They'll be talking about emotional regulation, why kids struggle to regulate their emotions, and how to teach emotional regulation. And so by the end of our time together, you will learn how emotional regulation develops, why emotional regulation is important, why kids struggle to regulate their emotions, and how to teach emotional regulation. So Amber's a mental health therapist at Peace Hospital. She works on the child and adolescent unit with elementary and middle school age kids. And Morgan is a mental health therapist at Peace Hospital, and she works with adolescent ages 14 to 18. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Amanda and Morgan.
Thank you. Like Debbie said, we work through UofL Health. So this one will be on emotional regulation. How can we help kids with self-regulation? And again, she said we are Morgan and Amber, and we're both LPCAs here. So emotional regulation, what is self-regulation? The ability to manage your emotions and behavior in accordance with the demands of the situation. So it includes many important skills such as impulse control, example, growing a mental pause button on your brain, identifying the present emotion and selecting a coping strategy, organizing and planning your behavior to solve problems constructively, and sustaining attention in order to monitor your own and others' behavior as you regulate.
Okay, and we do have a quick video to show you all on how emotional regulation develops. Sorry, give us just a moment.
Kids want to know. Imagine that you really want to play soccer at lunchtime, but when the bell rings,
Hey guys, it went off.
In an instant.
Thank you.
When we lose control of our emotions like this, we can call it flipping your lid, kind of like the way a pot might do if it was too full and too hot. A little while later, after you've cooled down, you might even feel sad when you realize that when you had a big reaction to a little problem, you could have hurt someone's feelings. What if I told you that this happens to everyone? Your parents, friends, teachers, and everyone else you know can flip their lid and lose control of their emotions sometimes. We all need to work on managing our feelings. Have you ever wondered why we can have such a hard time keeping our emotions under control? It can be really tough being a kid these days. There's just so much going on every day, at home, at school, even after school. Sometimes it's hard to keep a lid on things, and we act in ways that are not kind or caring, even though we don't mean to be hurtful. There are so many situations that we encounter every day that can cause our emotions to bubble up. Maybe you felt upset or frustrated when you were working on a problem or activity at school and just can't seem to get it right. Maybe something unexpected or embarrassing happened to you in front of your friends. Maybe you had something important to say, but didn't get a chance to say it. These and many, many more situations can cause both kids and adults to flip their lids. So why does this even happen? Well, it has to do with the way our amazing human brains work to help keep us safe. This is your brain, the part of your body that controls everything you do. Let's take a closer look at the parts of the brain and how they can work together to help us keep a lid on things. The brain is a pretty complicated organ, so we're going to use our hand to help us visualize what's happening up there. Let's imagine that our brain has an upstairs and a downstairs. Here, where our thumb is called the midbrain. This is where our emotions and memories are created and stored. Below that is your brainstem. The brainstem controls the things our bodies do that we don't have to think about, like breathing. It also controls our automatic reactions to certain situations. For example, if you touch a cup with hot tea in it and it's too hot, your downstairs brain feels the pain and will pull your hand away to stop you from getting burnt. It's an automatic reaction. You don't have to stop and think about what to do. Or imagine you're out on a hike and a bear wanders onto the path. Your brain doesn't stop and think, what kind of bear is it? Is it friendly? Your downstairs brain notices that you feel scared, it takes charge, and in a split second decides whether or not you should fight, fly, another word for run away, or freeze. Because of the way our downstairs brain reacts to these situations, we can think of it as our emotional brain, because it reacts instantly without needing to think things through. It's always ready to take charge in any situation to help keep you safe. So if this is our downstairs brain, then this part where the back of our hand and fingers are can be seen as our upstairs brain. It's called the cerebral cortex. This part of our brain helps us think logically, act with kindness, and think about how others might be feeling. It's also the problem-solving part of our brain. It helps us to think of possible solutions to a problem and decide which one is best. The upstairs brain is our thinking brain. Your upstairs and downstairs brain don't work alone. Your brain is set up so that the upstairs and downstairs brain can communicate with itself. It sends messages from section to section all the time about what our bodies feel and need. Let's take a closer look at our brain fist. Where our fingertips are is the logic and reasoning part of the brain that springs into action when we have a problem to solve, and usually it does a great job of doing it. But sometimes it can have a hard time solving a problem if the emotional brain and thinking brain can't communicate well enough. This can happen if your emotions get too overwhelming and your downstairs brain decides that this situation might be dangerous, even if it isn't really. And we all know what happens when our downstairs brain thinks you're in danger. It triggers our fight, flight, or freeze reflex. Our emotions start to bubble up, and then suddenly everything boils over. We flip our lids. This can look like a scary, angry reaction, or it might be crying or running away from a problem. Now that we've flipped our lids, see how far away our fingertips are from the midbrain? When our lids are flipped, our upstairs and downstairs brain can't talk to each other. Our emotions have become too strong, and we can't think clearly and can't solve the problem in a peaceful way. So what can we do to stop us from flipping our lid? Well, it all starts with realizing that we're about to flip our lid, and then turning down the heat so it doesn't happen. Remember that soccer game we talked about at the beginning of the video, and you were really upset and didn't get to play? Maybe you felt your tummy rumble, or you felt your face getting hot. Did your heart start to pound, and did you feel your hands start to clench? Were you frustrated, disappointed, and angry? These types of strong feelings are all indicators that you might be close to flipping your lid. If you feel this start to happen, it's a good idea to walk away, take some deep breaths, and look for an adult to talk to before you flip your lid. It might be a parent, grandparent, coach, teacher, or another trusted adult nearby. They can help you with strategies to solve the problem once you've calmed down enough for your upstairs brain to be ready to do some peaceful problem solving. If you do flip your lid, those same trusted adults can offer you some time and space to cool down before you start to problem solve together. Once your upstairs brain is back in charge, you can share your story and get some help. Using I statements can help you to tell an adult what you need. I need a hug. I need you to listen to what I have to say. I need another chance. I need some alone time. I need a walk. I need you to see that I can do well. Learning more about the brain and how it works can really help us to understand our emotions and to be peaceful problem solvers. When we listen to our bodies and our brains, we can turn the challenges of being a kid into opportunities to learn and grow. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in learning more about the brain and how to manage emotions, some resources are linked in the description box below.
Hi friends! Do you ever feel so angry that you want to explode?
So emotional dysregulation. This is manifest in different ways depending on the child. So not every circumstance is going to be exactly the same. Instantaneous, so huge, strong reactions with absolutely no warning, and a buildup. So distress builds up and they can only take it for so long, eventually leads to a behavioral outburst. So a lot of times with buildup, we see verbal and things like that. And then behavioral, it leads up to getting a little bit more physical sometimes.
Okay, why do some kids struggle with self-regulation? It can be a combination of temperament and learned behavior. So temperament and personality base is where some infants have trouble self-soothing and get very distressed when you were trying to bathe them or put on clothes. And those kids may be more likely to experience trouble with emotional self-regulation when they are older. And then sometimes there's also the environment. An example would be when parents give in to tantrums or work overtime to soothe their children when they get upset and act out, and kids have a hard time developing self-discipline. And the child is relying on parents to be external self-regulators, and the child may develop a habit of outsourcing self-regulation. And then, of course, there's ADHD and or anxiety, and that's children struggling with anxiety and or ADHD, and they may find it more difficult to manage their emotions and need more help to develop their emotional regulation skills.
So with teaching self-regulation, I'm kind of thinking of it as a skill to be taught rather than just a bad behavior. So some keys to success with this would be do not avoid situations that are difficult for kids to handle, but coaching them through it and providing a supportive framework. So scaffolding the behavior you want to encourage and showing them. Another one would be consistency and starting at a level that is appropriate for your child. So kind of like I said before, every child is different. And of course, with age, and how they are showing that, that's going to be different with consistency as well. Small steps, not starting super large, but something that can be approachable and approach in a calm manner. So reflective and analytic, not emotional and fast paced. So model self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-regulation. So giving them that something to look at to be able to model that.
And how do we teach self-regulation? So self-regulation develops through the interactions with others. So a child first learns to regulate with others and then is gradually able to use these regulation tools more independently. So that's why social interaction is definitely important for kids. And this process of caregivers providing support for kids to develop self-regulation is referred to as co-regulation.
So teaching self-regulation, an analogy for co-regulation, emotional regulation bucket. So the picture that we had put on this slide says the art of caregivers providing just enough support for a child to manage their emotions. As a child's abilities increase over time, parents add less. So filling what parents add and then the child's self-regulation abilities, both pouring into the bucket allows child's emotion regulation bucket to be filled. We have another video for this part too.
Oh, to turn it off and go back to sleep. But today you have an important early meeting. So you take a deep breath, focus on the goal of completing that project you really care about, and you drag yourself out of bed. This is an example of what scientists call self-regulation. It's the act of managing our thoughts and feelings so we behave in ways that help us reach our goals. Self-regulation keeps you from saying something hurtful out loud to a coworker, like, "That's a really bad idea." Or when you disagree with someone, self-regulation looks like choosing to communicate calmly and respectfully, because it's more important to you to take good care of that relationship than it is to win an argument. We need self-regulation to stay healthy and to succeed in school or at work, in relationships, and in life as a whole. It's a skill worth focusing on. Some think that self-regulation is something you're born being good at or not, but this is a myth. Anyone can build self-regulation skills over time, like a muscle. And as we build those muscles, we get better at important things, like managing strong emotions in healthy ways, staying on a task even when it's hard, and considering the perspectives of others so that our relationships can thrive. Research shows that adolescence is a critical window of opportunity for building self-regulation muscles because just like in early childhood, the brain is growing and building connections based on youth's experiences. This growth really impacts those areas of the brain that support self-regulation. One thing to know is the term self-regulation is misleading because we don't develop it by ourselves. Its development has much more to do with the people in a person's life and what's going on around them. When a person has nurturing and accepting relationships in supportive environments, self-regulation skills can grow. Whereas harsh or inconsistent relationships and stressful or chaotic environments short-circuit the development of self-regulation. Knowing that, just think of how important your influence can be on an adolescent's life. You have a powerful opportunity to help youth build their self-regulation skills by providing support through something called co-regulation. Co-regulation means having intentional interactions with young people that foster the skills they need to build healthy and happy lives. To co-regulate means to be caring, responsive, and accepting. Create nurturing, safe spaces to practice and learn. Teach and coach skills that build self-regulation muscles, all while practicing your own self-regulation. Co-regulation happens when we intentionally synchronize these actions as we manage our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So often, adults take a step back from youth as they hit adolescence, when what youth really need during this time is the opposite. There are many ways to grow your skills as a co-regulator. We'll offer 3. First, practice improving your own self-regulation. It's good for you, and it's important to model when working with youth. Second, build warm relationships in nurturing environments. Imagine yourself as a young person in your program. Do you feel cared for, accepted, and known by the staff? Does the environment feel supportive to you as an individual? Third, coach self-regulation skills. Help youth reframe mistakes as opportunities to try something new and to build their self-regulation muscles. When youth practice their skills, they improve those skills and feel better about themselves. These things may be part of your practice already, but now you have a name, co-regulation, for the kind of support you want to provide. And there's always more to learn. As an adult working with adolescents, you matter. Don't underestimate the impact you can have on their lives. From how you greet each young person in the morning, to the coaching conversations you have, to how you react in front of youth when things don't go exactly the way you planned. Using a co-regulation approach can support a young person in ways that matter to them now and in their future. Fostering a co-regulation mindset is an investment worth making for all of us.
Okay, so where to start? You pause before responding, take a breath, briefly validate, observe response, and adjust as needed, and then repeat. And then we're going to review some examples, which is page 6 of using co-regulation to build self-regulation in kids.
So the 3 pillars of co-regulation. This is a combination of behaviors that caregivers engage in that allow self-regulation skills to develop over time. Provide warm, responsive relationship, structure the environment, and teach/coach self-regulation skills. So these 3 pillars of co-regulation are things that will help the child with their self-regulation.
Pillar 1, warm and responsive environment. So show affection, express interest in the child, spend positive time together, be responsive in times of distress, which is sometimes pausing to provide the level of support your child needs. And that's something that on our units that we see every day is sometimes a child just needs a pat on the back, a side hug, just some support in their time of distress.
Structure the environment and set limits. So have predictable routines, state rules and expectations clearly, provide external structure for calming down, including a calm down space and materials, and use logical consequences for negative behaviors. And that's depending on ages, of course, because a lot of times when routines are not consistent is a lot of times where things fall off with their regulation.
Teach and coach self-regulation. So label positive and challenging emotions. Use modeling, prompting, and praising of self-calming strategies throughout the day, not just in moments of escalation. That could be, just taking a break, deep breathing, taking a short walk, anything like that. And assist in problem solving.
Name emotions. So a lot of you all, I'm sure, have seen feelings wheels, things like that. So one of the most important skills that kids can develop in terms of emotional regulation is the ability to name and identify emotions. And sometimes that can be really hard for kids to be able to express how they're feeling, especially in that moment or not having something physically to see. I feel like a lot of the emotions that I get when I do groups especially is just the word good. And I'm always like, what does good mean? Happy, sad, calm, relaxed. Good is not a feeling. So then it makes them dive in a little bit more to identify what an actual emotion can be for them. So emotions are powerful. And when we struggle to understand and label the feelings that we're experiencing, it can be difficult to manage them effectively. So when we're not able to identify how we feel to someone, how can we manage that feeling? Naming emotions help kids understand the emotional state that they're in and how they can turn that emotion around.
And co-regulate successfully. So pay attention to your own feelings and reactions during stressful interactions, which is something that us as therapists have to pay attention to every day. It's just making sure that we're aware of our own feelings and emotions, so we're not taking that out on the kids who pick up on that. Pay attention to your own thoughts and beliefs about behaviors or others. Use strategies to self-calm and respond effectively and compassionately. When a caregiver responds calmly to a child, it helps keep the child's feelings from escalating and also models regulation skills, which is also something that you learn working with children. Is a lot of times if they're escalated and you're escalated, it's just going to keep going. So I've definitely learned how to make sure that I'm talking to a child who's escalated in a calm tone. And reach out to others for support, practice calming strategies, creates calm, model appropriate behavior, and pass on those skills.
So co-regulation for children and adolescents, providing a warm, nurturing, supportive relationship, showing them that the relationship isn't strained or giving them a cold shoulder. So making sure that they feel comfortable coming to you, assist in problem solving more complex academic, behavioral, and social situations, model conflict resolution strategies. And we put a link there that gives some of those examples. Prompt and coach coping skills and calm down strategies, including self-talk and relaxation. So a little bit of mindfulness as well. I feel like giving mindfulness strategies is very helpful sometimes to some of our kids. Teach and support organization and planning skills needed for academic success. So I feel like a lot of the kids we also get here do not feel as if they can reach their goals, or that they can't reach things academically because they've been told that beforehand. So being able to support them and encourage them when planning for future academic success, or even just the academic success in the moment. Providing opportunities to make decisions and self-monitor behavior. So being able to identify maybe when your body gets hot, you know you're about to get upset, or how your mind or body is feeling in that moment, to self-monitor their behavior, or a behavior that they may end up pursuing if something happens. Continue to provide clear roles, structure, and consequences in a calm manner. Just making sure they know that you're not angry. You may feel that way, but being able to show them that you can get through it and that everything is clear.
So this is co-regulation support for the elementary school age children. So during this time, children are gaining more control over their attention, emotions, and behavior. So that is increased ability to manage their impulses and delay gratification. Behavioral expectations and social interactions are becoming more complex. And stable period of development, numerous opportunities to help children develop self-regulatory skills. So this is usually the time when they're starting to realize that those emotions are getting a little bit stronger. So
a little bit of emotional regulation activities for kids that we had come up with. So glad, sad, mad, afraid, drawing these emotions. So something that they would do is draw a picture or create a collage of the different feelings that you experience, and use any type of materials with them. So that can just be poster boards, construction paper, anything, but allowing them to make that picture of what they're feeling in that moment, or things that they have been feeling. So some questions that you would do with them is, what does it look like when you're feeling angry? And that will be able to allow them to elaborate when they know they're going to get angry. How does it feel when you are happy? Some things that maybe make you happy, or how does your body feel when you're happy? And what does scared look like? So the rationale of this is it helps kids better understand and express their emotions, and it allows them to talk about how their mind and body feel when they are feeling certain emotions, and can be able to express that.
And here are some mindfulness exercises. So breathing, so that's calm and centering yourself. That can be, as we teach the kids here, or at least with mine, 10 deep breaths, or just breathing in, holding it for a couple seconds, and then breathing out. So this is the bunny breathing, where you do just 3 quick sniffs in the nose and 1 long exhale out of the nose. So you can invite kids to pretend to be bunnies, sniffing the air for other bunnies, carrots to eat, or safety. It can be a lovely cleansing breath when you use it in this way. You can also use it when kids are very upset and can't find their breath, because it will help them connect to their exhale so that they breathe instead of spin out. And then there's the balloon breathing exercise here, which is think of your stomach as a balloon. Put your hand on your stomach to feel it rise and fall. Take a deep breath in through your nose to fill your balloon, and hold your breath for 2 seconds. And then breathe out through your mouth slowly to deflate your balloon. And you can repeat this balloon breathing exercise 5 times.
And another one that's really common that's used that we didn't put in here too is box breathing, that I use a lot with the kids. And it's just inhaling for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, then exhaling for 4 seconds, and then sitting for 4 seconds, and then just repeating that. So that is another mindfulness exercise that can be used as well. So another one is yoga and physical exercise. So the rationale with this is it promotes mental and emotional well-being by increasing the flow of oxygen to the brain. So this reduces stress hormones and improves the mood. Help to improve self-confidence, increase energy levels, boost resilience, and reduce challenging behaviors. So physical exercise, I feel like, is a huge benefit with the kids, especially here. They don't get that exercise like all day. So when they get it, that time period that they get out so much energy and they come back and they're in such a better mood because they got to get out a lot of the energy that they've had all day. And it makes their day a lot better and increases how the rest of the day is going to be for them.
And I've actually added, because I do group with usually the boys every morning, I've added physical exercise as part of their group, the way we in group probably the last 10 to 15 minutes every morning. And it's really helpful for them before they go back to school because, you know, sometimes things happen, they're upset in the morning or they've got into it with another kid or whatever the case may be. And that physical exercise allows them to get out that negative energy. And I've even used it when I've had a kid get upset during group. And I'm just like, just give me a few sit-ups, give me a few push-ups. And it's amazing how just doing that makes them feel so much better.
Especially if you're trying to do group with, I do group with the boys too, and it's at 8 a.m. So whenever it's 8 a.m. and they're getting up to do group, they're not super excited to be doing it super early. So we try to incorporate something that will wake them up a little bit, and then it improves their mood to go into groups. So when they don't want to do something and then you do something fun with them, like an exercise, it makes them a little bit more excited for something. So improving not only their energy level, but their mood going into group changes their perspective a lot. And it is very beneficial for the therapeutic aspect.
So mindful walking, and this is just taking a walk, focusing on your breath, paying attention to all the sounds around you and noticing the different sights and smells. The rationale is to get in touch with emotions, reduce stress and anxiety, and improve mood. This is something that I wish I could do with the kids on my unit to get them outside, because some of them need that nature. They need that break from just looking at the unit. But even myself, I like taking mindful walks as well. So this can be very, very peaceful for adults and for children.
So the next one is a mindful body scan. So the rationale of this is it helps kids become more aware of their bodies and the emotions they are feeling. So something you can do is sit comfortably on the floor in a chair, close your eyes and direct focus towards various parts of the body, starting with your toes and working your way up to your head. So as you focus on each part of your body, pay attention to any sensations that you feel, such as warmth, tingling, or tension. And sometimes this is something that can be difficult whenever they are very upset and not wanting to sit still, or like if they're wanting to pace. So having them sit with you and doing it with them is something I also have found super beneficial. Being able to talk about it with them and do it with them as they're doing it, so you can talk about it, because sometimes, like I said, they're wanting to do other things, and when they're upset, they're not focusing on that. But if you're willing to do it with them, I think it's a lot more helpful that they can see someone else do it with them and that they're not doing it alone.
So talking about emotions. So number one is model talking about your feelings, because that is important. And that's something that we teach the kids all the time is whenever you're having a feeling, you got to communicate it. Like, let's try for it not to come out in a negative behavior, but just let's sit and have a conversation about it. Summarize your child's feelings. Basically pretty much just acknowledging their feelings. praise your child for talking about his or her feelings, which is also something that can be beneficial as well. Just acknowledging and, just kind of congratulating them on talking about their feelings instead of it turning into a negative behavior. And allow your child to have feelings. So don't suppress them. Definitely encourage them to communicate their feelings whenever they're having some. And you can talk in a group setting or one-on-one. Ask, how are you feeling today? Which is something that we tend to do every morning before a group starts. And just encourage sharing of thoughts and feelings.
So why is emotional regulation important? So emotional regulation is crucial because it allows individuals to manage and respond to their emotions in a healthy way and not a negative way, which is essential for maintaining your mental well-being, building strong relationships, making rational decisions, coping with stress, and navigating challenging situations effectively. Poor emotional regulation can lead to negative consequences like impulsive behaviors, damaged relationships, and increased risk of mental health issues like anxiety and depression. So a lot of the kids that I see have grown up not being able to talk about their feelings. And so when we start trying to talk about them, sometimes they're unsure how to do that, or they're scared to do that because they've shared before and it got them in a different circumstance. So maintaining that and building strong relationships with people around you that can support you is great for those kids to have their emotional regulation be able to increase.
So key points on why emotional regulation is important. Basically, it's important to your mental health. Effective emotion regulation helps individuals cope with stressors and maintain a positive state of mind, reducing the likelihood of developing mental health concerns. It can improve the quality of relationships. Being able to manage emotions leads to better communication, healthier interactions, and stronger relationships with others. Decision making. When emotions are regulated, individuals can make more rational decisions without being influenced by overwhelming feelings. It can help with academic and professional success. Good emotional regulation skills can contribute to better focus, performance, and productivity in school and work settings. And it can help with stress management. By effectively managing emotions, individuals are better equipped to handle stressful situations and navigate challenges.
So some of the references that we got a lot of our stuff from was, of course, a lot of therapy sources, Child Mind, Helping Families Thrive, and our YouTube videos as well. So we just put this in here just for an extra thing to show where we are in Louisville. So we're going to leave the last little bit. If anybody has any questions or comments, you can either ask or leave in the chat box.
So Amber and Amanda, we did have one question that was dropped in earlier, which I just put it at the end right now. But what are some of the ideas to help manage a situation when a child will not be able to encourage, support, or praise when they're struggling with those deep emotions? Oh, when they will not allow you to encourage, support, or praise. Did you need some clarification on that question, or are you?
We're just reading and discussing together, honestly. So.
Those are to be honest, those are the harder kids.
I think it depends on the situation too. Situationally where this can be occurring. Because it can be different in different types of settings of how to support them, I feel like. So maybe clarification on like what setting of situation, because like here, I feel like we would do things a little bit differently than maybe in a home setting type situation, if that makes sense.
Maybe, do you think you could just give some examples of like if you are,
Yeah.
it just in different scenarios?
Okay.
So one of the ideas that I have is sometimes just, I think we call it here like gentle touch, where you just put your hand on the child's back. And I think for at least for some of my kids, when they get to a point where they're just super escalated, nothing's happening, you're trying to encourage them, you're trying to talk to them, you're trying to support them. I actually just had a kid like that maybe I want to say a couple of weeks ago. Nothing was helping. He was kicking the wall, punching the wall. And I just took my hand and just kind of put it on the back of his shoulders. And I don't know if that was just soothing for him or if he just took that as, I wasn't there to hurt him. But he was able to actually calm down enough to where he was stopping the negative behavior, and I was actually able to talk to him. So sometimes gentle touch helps. No, he wasn't responding to words, so I just put my hand on his back. And sometimes just your presence there, just the calming presence, even without words, and just standing there with them, sometimes that's helpful. But yeah, it really just depends on where the child is in those deep emotions, because sometimes they don't want to talk. We know something's wrong. We know they're upset over something or someone or a combination of both, but they just can't verbally express it. So sometimes just having that calm presence or that gentle touch helps. At least that's what I've noticed just from my kids.
Yeah, I've noticed too. I feel like you said, even just sitting there or being there, a lot of times when they are ready, they will be ready. So being there to sit with them and even just let them know that you're there in the moment for them when they are ready to discuss those deep feelings or what is going on. Just supporting in the presence of being there. So the next one was, what is the role of the parent/adults when teaching emotional regulation? So that's just being a supportive environment for them. So being able to teach them kind of like the coping mechanisms we said, modeling healthy emotional responses, just providing that support and teaching them and modeling the healthy emotional responses to how to manage their emotions. So the role of just being that support system for them and being able to model and teach effectively.
And also that consistency too.
Mm-hmm.
That consistency of letting them know that it's okay to express your emotions. It's okay if you tell me you're angry. It's okay if you tell me you're mad. And also that praise afterwards to let them know that not only is it okay, but I'm listening, I understand, and I'm happy that you felt comfortable enough in expressing yourself.
Yeah, I feel like encouragement with it a lot too, because sometimes like when they're scared, to be able to open up, encouraging that you're not going to get upset, that you're there, calm and things like that. That is a huge part, and your demeanor of things is a huge part in how they are going to emotionally respond.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions? Let's see. Yes, somebody dropped in. We'll just totally agree with you here. It's always best to intervene before an actual outburst. So when you're seeing those emotional signs. Oh, that's a question. I was taking it as a comment.
I did too at first when I first read the first sentence. I read it a little bit backwards.
Yes. So
I think it's more important to step in before the escalation when you see the
Mhm.
warning signs. Because from my experience, those warning signs, if you can catch them early enough, like even just for here, that I can avoid a
Mhm.
child going into a hold or restraint or getting into a fight, if I can catch those warning signs early enough, or if a staff member can, even for a parent. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the kid showing emotion, but if a parent knows their child's warning signs, or even if a school notices a child's warning signs, it's best practice to step in before things escalate and get to that point.
Mhm. Yeah, because a lot of times when you notice those warning signs, they're gonna continue to show more warning signs, and then it gets to a point where it's very hard to bring them down from when they're at that very high peak. So when you first notice, their first initial ones are the best times to intervene, because most of the time you can be able to redirect their mindset with something that they enjoy, or being able to do something that that will help them. Because when they get to the highest point, sometimes it can be hard to de-escalate that a little bit more.
I think we just have one last question. And that was, what's the role of parents or adults when teaching emotional regulation? Or did you guys do that one?
Yeah, that was the one that we were just talking about, like providing the supportive environment, showing them calmness, teaching them coping mechanisms, and modeling the emotions.
Encouraging them,
And encouraging.
praising, just being a support for them, and definitely keeping that calm tone, as well, when you're teaching them emotional regulation.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amber and Morgan, for presenting to us today. We appreciate your time. And so there is an evaluation survey that we're going to go ahead and drop in chat. If you would like so again, we value your feedback. We'd like to get your comments, but if you also would like a social work CEU or a certificate of completion, then just complete the survey, and at the end of it, you'll be able to request that. So we'll let you go ahead and just stay on for a second and complete that. We will not be sending out the survey link after in the follow-up email. And yes, thank you for your questions. And you will receive a follow-up email in a couple days that will have the PowerPoint slides and also a recording to this Lunch and Learn. So, and again, we thank everyone for attending. Thank you, Cozier for Kids Face It Movement, for hosting this Lunch and Learn. Yeah, and if you want to go ahead and just complete that survey, and whenever you're done, you're welcome to hop off.